Okay, so Ms. Dugas is on probation for the offense of robbery, a second-degree felony. We were previously here, and she entered pleas of true to counts 1 through 12, all of the counts in that motion, second amended motion to revoke unadjudicated probation. I received the updated pre-sentence report as well as a letter from Ms. Dugas. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that? Are there any additions or corrections?
None from the defense, Your Honor. No, mistake.
All right, and this was unagreed, correct? Ms. Holmes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Spoken with Ms. Dugas, obviously the various new offenses and violations is not acceptable through probation. She understands that. She stated that throughout this time, she did not have much support. She was going through a hard time in life, and she resorted to doing and committing these offenses, not being in obviously the right state of mind to be able to successfully complete probation. Ultimately, Ms. Dugas is requesting to have the opportunity to be reinstated to complete probation. And she would like to address the court in regards to this as to her plan of how she can successfully complete if given the opportunity.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, let's get into this courtroom drama. The video begins with Miss Dugas standing before the judge, and the tension in the room is impossible to ignore. She's already on probation for robbery, a second-degree felony, but instead of staying out of trouble, she's added a whole new list of violations: drug possession, resisting arrest, and failing to report to her probation officer. She tries to explain, saying she was going through a tough time, didn't have support, and wasn't in the right state of mind. But when you're on probation for a serious crime, those excuses don't hold much weight. The judge isn't buying it, and honestly, neither would most people. The court reminds her that probation was her second chance, and she completely wasted it. The final verdict: 8 years in prison. And here's where it gets even more serious. If she violates the law again after this, she'll be looking at a minimum of 25 years as a habitual offender. That's practically a lifetime.
I'm sad, great. I'm being like that on my. You know, but you sound well.
Ms. Dugas, you did the exact same thing. You robbed someone else while you're on probation for robbery. Not just robbed someone else, you failed to ID, failed to report to probation, you committed the new offense of possession of a controlled substance, you resisted arrest, it's ridiculous to me that you're saying you want a second chance, because this was your second chance. You've already been on probation. You were given the second chance of not going to prison. The fact that Ms. Holmes negotiated a cap of 8 years for you, you should thank your lucky stars. This is ridiculous. 8 years, in my opinion, is not enough. You had every opportunity to do all the things that you're Stop crying, because you weren't crying when you were robbing people and using drugs and not being a good mom and not doing the things that you should have done when you were given this opportunity. Right?
Now let's turn to Mr. Antwine's case, and this one is even more serious. He was on deferred probation for aggravated assault involving family violence, but instead of staying out of trouble, he committed another domestic abuse offense, this time in Louisiana, and by strangulation. The judge doesn't hold back, making it clear that he had access to mental health resources, community service programs, and other support systems, yet he chose not to use them. Instead, he's back in court, asking for leniency. But the judge isn't convinced. And it's hard to argue with that decision. His actions weren't just violent, they were repetitive. That's a major red flag. It's a tough case, a one that sends a strong message. The court's priority is protecting victims and holding offenders accountable. And in this case, they're doing exactly that.
Age, at the very least, is appropriate for her based on a number of violations. I spoke with Mr. Chen yesterday. He does not want to continue to work with her. This is actually her third MTRP. It's about her fifth chance in line abuse, not just her second chance in line abuse.
Ms. Dugas, I'm going to find that you entered your pleas of true to counts 1 through 12 freely and voluntarily. Find those counts true. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time, find you guilty of robbery. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 8 years in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal. I've also handed you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read that written admonishment I provide you to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or about how long that lasts, you can talk to Ms. Holmes. I hope you take some advantage of this and actually do what you're saying you're going to do when you get out and change your life. There's programs in prison. Take advantage of them, but you're not going to continue to get opportunities like this. If you continue to violate the law after this, you're going to be considered a habitual offender. And if you do anything again, your minimum punishment is going to be 25 years. 25 years minimum for what you've been doing. So you need to change your life or you're never going to see.
These cases highlight the challenges of probation. In theory, it's meant to give people a chance to turn their lives around, but as we've seen, it doesn't always work out that way. Both Miss Dugas and Mr. Antwine had opportunities to change, yet personal struggles, poor decisions, and a lack of accountability kept getting in the way. Probation isn't a free pass. It's a second chance that comes with real responsibilities. If you don't take it seriously, the consequences can be severe. The judge's message is clear. If you're given a chance to reform, make the most of it. Otherwise, you could be facing serious time behind bars.
Is here for sentencing on probation, a deferred probation for aggravated assault, family violence, and that was a 10-year deferred probation that he was given back November 14th of 2023. Entered pleas of true, it looks like, to counts 1 through 11 in the motion to revoke unadjudicated probation. I've received an updated pre-sentence report. This was an open plea to the court. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. The court had previously, when we were here before, it advised the court, that he received 4 months on that new case in Louisiana, but it does involve the same victim, Miss Red, as his case here.
Mm-hmm.
We had discussed 6. The court did not feel comfortable with that, so we've just decided to go on to you.
Okay. All right. So that's what, and I wanted to remind myself, I had a notation on this about that new offense. So the new offense was in Louisiana, and it was domestic abuse, battery, also by strangulation, correct? Against the same victim. All right. Mr. Lewis, you may proceed.
Judge, in this situation, in all my conversations with Mr. Antoine here, a lot of his issues come back to his mental health problems. And at the time, I believe he was not really open about getting the help that he needed with these issues. And once he got on probation, of course, those issues already became a very unstable situation. He admitted that he was homeless for a period of time there, which why he went back to Louisiana. All of his family is there. We had some sort of support system. But Judge, he understands that he did mess up.
Another interesting aspect is how the judge approaches these cases, firm but fair. They acknowledge that personal struggles are real, but they don't excuse criminal behavior. The court's message is clear. If you're given a chance to reform, you need to take it seriously. And then there's the warning about habitual offender laws. One more mistake, and the consequences become even more severe. For Miss Dugas, it's 8 years now, but if she violates the law again, she's looking at a minimum of 25 years. For Mr. Antwine, it's 15 years, and the judge makes it clear that he's fortunate it's not even more. These cases serve as a wake-up call. Probation isn't an easy way out. It's an opportunity, but if you waste it, the penalties can be life-altering.
Prevention program, which probably would have taught you how to not beat on and attack and put your hands on people that you supposedly care about. Got a new offense over there for that. Anyway, I'm going to find that you entered your pleas of true to counts 1 through 11 freely and voluntarily. I'm going to find those counts true. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of aggravated assault on a family victim. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 15 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the laws give you the right to receive. I believe the initial was yes. I am going to make the finding that there was a deadly weapon in that initial case. I'm going to hand you the trial court certification. You need to sign this with Mr. Lewis. It shows that this was not a plea agreement. You have some rights to appeal. You can talk to him about that. I'm also going to hand you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read the written admonishment I provide to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition or about how long that lasts, you can talk to Mr. Lewis.
So, what's the takeaway here? Probation is a tough road, and it's not for everyone. These cases show just how difficult it can be to stay on track, especially when life gets complicated. But they also make one thing clear: the justice system has its limits. If you're given a second chance, you need to make it count, because third chances are rare. The judge's final words to both defendants were a mix of warning and hope. Take advantage of the programs in prison, change your life, and don't come back to court. It's a sobering reminder that actions have consequences, and the court isn't afraid to enforce them. That's it for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.